that's what happens when we hang out. So we ended up having a cookout one time, and we just ended up talking about our lives. And he just started sharing about how he came to the point of really coming to faith. And so, and it moved me. And I think it's, again, all of us, we have our stories. But I felt like his story, I felt like the Lord was speaking to my heart about his story, and that maybe it would bless people who come to the other round. So give us a little bit of a background of, who you are, where you live.
Okay. Live in Flint, been here about 50 years.
You're 50 years old?
55. I grew up with a religious family, but I didn't really go to church. Didn't run no part of it really. When I was ready, it would be good for me. And
how many siblings you had, you had other siblings, right?
I have a younger sister that's 2 years younger, and an older sister that's 2 years older, and they went to church with my family all the time. It wasn't, at the time it wasn't for me. Yeah. And I kept on saying that all my life. And, I had a rough life. But it was kind of like I was handed good things. I just never took care of it properly, And I met a young lady who was Catholic, and one thing led to another, and we got married.
And you were older at that point?
I was older, yeah. Yeah, that was 20 years ago, well, 18, 19 years ago. And what
was her name?
Mary Ann. Yep. And she was solid Catholic, and she would come.
She regular church goer.
Yeah, and then she got sick, and she would come. Come when she felt good and stuff like that. And I just came because she said we're going to go to church, and I said okay. We had a couple of children, Tegan and Kaylee. Kaylee's in college now and lives with me at home still, and I'm glad of that. And Tegan lives with us too, and she goes to Powers right now. They were born and raised Catholic. Always went to church. Did all that.
So you came, maybe, did you come with her every week?
I would, anytime she wanted to come to church, I would go.
So what did that do for you?
At first, I really wasn't. I was just there, and I didn't, I don't know. It wasn't really for me yet. I wasn't ready. Yeah. And then my children went to school here with Holy Redeemer when they had the school. And I participated in stuff, and as a dad should. And I was close to my kids, and I still am to this day. I'll do anything for them. And my daughters, when they closed the school, my daughters went to St. Pius. We still came to church here at Holy Redeemer. And then Father Steve came.
Things that your wife wanted it, and you just
yep.
went along with it.
Oh yeah.
You didn't have any.
No, I could have stayed home, but I was in love with my wife. I wanted to do whatever she wanted to make her happy. But she kept on asking me, you might as well just become Catholic, And I was like, when it's good for me, and it wasn't good for me at that time, I guess. And or God's plan, let's just say that, wasn't set for me the way I wanted it. It was the way He wanted it.
And you were saying how it was actually a difficult thing that began to bring you, at least open your eyes to the faith, and so your wife
she got sick. She got sick. She was diabetic all of her life, and she got sick. And they said, don't have kids, because it'll make it worse for you. She wanted to have 2 kids, so we had 2 beautiful daughters. And slowly but surely, her body deteriorated away. And they called.
How long was it?
Probably, I would say. Well, after the first child, it started going downhill. And then after the second child, which they said don't have, because your child probably won't live anyways. And she was bound determined she's going to have another kid. And so we had another beautiful daughter, and they're both healthy. And she, after the second child, she slowly but surely, it went, you know, downhill with kidney failure and losing, you know, limbs. Diabetics, you know, they say if you don't take care of yourself, you'll lose fingers and toes, and she did. Going to dialysis 3 times a week for 4 and 5 hours at a time. And I would go and sit with her some days. I'd cut out from work and go and sit with her. And then about 3 years ago, it was 2.5 years ago, February 28th, I got a phone call.
And at this point, she was in and out of the hospital, right?
Yeah, she went in and out of the hospital quite a bit.
So when you got the phone call, was she in the hospital? Or was
Yep, she was in the hospital in a coma. And her blood sugar had tanked right out. And they said she's not going to make it. She's hooked up to life support. You need to come. And, you know, I left work and I got there, and, you know, it's not a pretty sight. But something was just telling me, you know, hang in there, because she was on the non-resuscitation thing. And I was like, you know what, just leave it go for now, let it go. And they said she's not going to come out, and she went that way for probably 2 weeks. And the day before we were going to shut the machine off, her eyes opened up. And I was like, you know what, we're waiting. She's awake. And every day got better, you know, and it was, you know, and I felt that pressure. I just started going to church more. Yeah. And they always say you look for God when it's the worst. Well, it was getting to be my worst.
And you were going on your own.
And I started, yep, and my daughters would go with me, you know, stuff like that. But, I mean, I believed in God, but I didn't ask him into my heart. I didn't let him take over. And, you know.
Talk about that one day. You said like she was getting stronger.
She was getting stronger.
One day when she was allowed to go out,
yeah. Well, she come out of the coma, and every day it was like training a baby how to walk and talk again. And so we had her at the nursing home, and she loved to go outside. And so we took her outside, and she's in this like a wheelchair bed type thing. And when she gets out there, she wants to try to stand up. And we, you know, they've been working with her. And so we stand her up, and she's leaning against the fence, just watching the cars and watching the cars. And then just something was telling me that something wasn't right. And even though she was enjoying it, she just acted different. So I said, do you want to go inside? And she shook her head, yeah. And she didn't really talk much, you know, unless she was mad, and you could hear her. She would kind of blurt out a little. Yeah, she yelled at me a couple times, and you know, and so I was like, we'll go inside. So we went inside, and I said, are you tired? And she shook her head, yes. And she laid down, and I said, well, we're going to go home, and you know, and then she grabbed my hand and said, you know, just shook her head no, and I said, well, I'll wait till you go to sleep. And so she said, okay, you know, she didn't say nothing. She just shook her head, yeah. And it was about 3 o'clock, 3:15 in the morning, I got a phone call that you need to come. And I live probably about, I don't know, 25 minutes from the nursing home, and I'm not going to lie to you, I broke every law in the book, and I was there in probably 10 minutes. And I run every stop sign, every red light, you know, and I get there, and they held me at the door.
And then you said you said something. Was she still there?
She had gone, and so they let me in.
And you said you cried out. You said, Might have been the first prayer.
It was the very first prayer.
What did you say?
I just told God, I'm done fighting. I said I was ready. Just do what you want to do. Take me. And I just, and then, you know, it was kind of like, from right then, it was like, I was kind of not physically lifted up, but my burden was lifted. And I just knew, because I knew she was with him. You know, I already knew. And part of the reason I can't, well, how do I say this without sounding funny? I'm going to be with her again, so that's what I'm looking forward to, you know. But I'm also looking forward to seeing God, because I can see her sitting right there saying, there he is, he's coming. You know, so when it's time for me to go, I'm ready to go, because I believe in God, and I have him in my heart. But,
no,
you know.
Point, so you said that prayer, like, God, I'm ready. Like that was the first time you asked him.
That's the first time I've ever asked him in my heart.
So you said, come.
Yep.
Did you say, come take me now, or come?
I said, come do what you got to do, because I'm ready. I'm done fighting.
And when was that?
That was around 3:30 in the morning.
About the year.
August. It was the night she passed away, on August 13th.
And you, because when I read that you were going to church, you started going to church.
Yep, and I started going to church every Sunday then.
And,
you know.
And it almost seems like, so how did, here's like, I'm going to phrase the question, God answered your question, because people decided to talk to you, right, and invite you, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of funny, because I sat behind a family, you know, all the time, and he had like 4 or 5 kids, and he always after church said, I'm sorry, because they, you know, they're young kids, and I was like, that's no problem, you're bringing your kids to church, and it was great, you know. And one Sunday, he handed me an Alpha card, you know, and I looked at it, and he didn't know if I wasn't Catholic, or if I didn't believe in God, or if I believed in God or nothing. He just handed me a card, and introduced himself a couple times before that. And I read the card, and I stuck it in my pocket, and I went home, and I threw it on my dresser, and, you know, and then...
At least not in the trash.
No, not in the trash. I threw it on my dresser, and then Father Steve would mention Alpha every once in a while, and I got a card like that. I went home and read through it. I'm going to go, you know. I'll go, you know. If it's not for me, I won't stay. And I went.
So what was your experience when you went there?
I liked it, because there was all kinds of faith there. There was, I mean, how do I say that? There was not just Catholic people. There was people that didn't believe in God, or maybe didn't believe in, have a certain religion, that were there, and we all just started talking, you know, and communicating back and forth.
It was right there. The table.
Yeah, it was down here, and a couple of the people that were at my table are here tonight. But it was like, you know, I don't know, it was great, you know. There was a girl that was Baptist, and there's you know, different kind of religions all at our table, but we didn't act like we were different, because we all, well, most of us all believed in God, you know. And
so was it at the because you prayed, God, come and do whatever you have to do. Was it at the retreat that happened? What happened?
At the retreat was even more better, you know. I wasn't even going to go. I'm like, you know, I don't want to go to that, you know.
Some people know there's a retreat halfway through, for those of you not know.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to go. But then I was like, well, I'll go, you know. And so I went to that, and that was good. I mean...
Can you describe?
Wow.
just try.
Well, you know, me personally, song and praise and worship is what I needed. And we did a lot of that, and a lot of praying. And I'm not a person that can pray out loud in public, or at least I wasn't. And slowly but surely I'm coming out of that shell. But that day that my team prayed over me, and I couldn't even hardly stand up, you know, because I was just in awe. And then after that, you know, I was like, you know, Raffy said, well, hey, do you want to volunteer to help out? And I couldn't say no. I'm like, I didn't want to do it even. And then I goes, yeah, sure, I'll do it, you know. And I'm like, what did I say that for? you know, but, and then I got to do that, help out at the last Alpha, and I don't know, just like the words no can't come out of my mouth.
So God rushed into your heart like you asked.
Yeah, it was.
Now you won't stop crying.
Man, I'm telling you, and I was never a softie. Never. I used to be a manager for McDonald's, and I was just so mean. And one of my friends, his sister worked for me, and she even said he was just the meanest guy you ever knew. But now it's just like, you know, God has taken over.
I remember when I first asked you to serve on the Alpha, so he does a ton of different things now. But when I asked him to serve on the team the first time, I asked, what did this do for you? And I said, what did Alpha do for you? But I think it's God. What did God do for you? You said, it changed my life.
Yep.
Is that what you mean? Like, when I said, what did Alpha do to change my life?
It did. It just like, it humbled me. You know, it's like, even my daughters, when your kids at home say, wow, Dad, you're different, you know. Yeah, I'm still a dad, and I have rules and regulations and stuff like that, but it was like, I come across totally different. My tone of voice, my language, it's just your whole life starts changing, and I love it. I mean, I've met so many friends.
Family faith.
It's a big family.
Yeah.
And I just can't say no.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. God changes your life. And since then, you've been received the church.
Oh, man.
I mean, can you tell how it's affected? Like,
You just, all right. I went to all the not classes.
so you did Alpha, then after
Alpha, I went to RCIA, and went through all that, and Easter Visual, I got baptized. And it was, there was quite a few of us, but 3 of us wanted to go dunk all under. You know, I'm thinking, man, I got a lot of sin to wash away. So, you know, we was like, all right, you know, and they were teasing me about, we're going to hold you under longer because you're the oldest and got a lot of sin. So, but
I heard you were glad because you were under, people didn't notice how much you were crying.
Yep. That's one of the reasons why, because I knew I was going to cry, you know, when I got baptized. But the day of getting ready for, you know, the Easter Visual, and that was a stressful day because I just, you know, all my friends and family are going to be there. And my dad, who was Baptist, at first he wasn't going to go. And then that day he calls and says, hey, I'm going. And, you know, there's another tear moment, you know. And then my daughters, and they're all coming. And I got a lot of family and friends that came. And I was telling people at work, you know, I'm getting baptized. You guys got to come. You know, there was probably about, I would say, 20 people I knew that was there, personally. But then everyone I met in the church. But the day we get to the church, and I tell my daughter, I was like, you know, and she has this friend that they hadn't been seeing eye to eye to each other for a while. And I said, look, now I invited her, your friend, and their family, and, well, we don't got to talk, Daddy. And I was like, well, you don't have to talk. I said, this is my day and the Lord's day. I said, it's all about me tonight, so you be good. And she's like, Daddy, I will. And so we get there, and it was such a, you know, the Lord works. I sound like a preacher now. The Lord works in such crazy ways. It's like, she walks in one door, my daughter and I walk in another door, and we're walking to sit down, and they just look at each other and break out in tears. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Good stuff. So, last two questions. One is kind of like an unabashed, like a plug for Alpha. So he said, most recently we asked him, can you MC? Can you MC the next Alpha? And he said yes. So he's going to MC the next Alpha.
Yeah.
Which starts in October 1st. So I know this is a plug, a total plug, but what would you tell people, just for the people you're invited, just about Alpha? Like, what would you tell somebody who's like thinking of going to Alpha? What would you say?
It's not what you think you're thinking it is. Because I wasn't going to go because I'm thinking, oh, they're just shoving church down my throat. You know, but it's praise and worship, and you communicate with other people. And I mean, you get to know a lot of people, and they're a loving family. I can't even explain it. It was just great.
So they should just go.
You know, and then I got friends like Raffy, you know, Jason, and Bob, and it's like, you just meet tons of people at the church that you've seen but never met before, and they probably said hi to me. I just blew them off, you know. Mm-hmm. So.
One last thing. If there was a word, a prayer, a scripture, or whatever in your heart that you want to say or to express to God as we end this, what would it be?
My prayer is that if you don't have God in your heart, come talk to me. That is my prayer, because I feel if I can't help you, I can lead you in the direction that somebody will. And I just, you know, like I say, song and worship is mine. The song Holy, 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 the Son of God Almighty.
And maybe to add to that, if you, those prayers, God is just waiting for us to ask him, like, God, come into my heart. Like, he's just waiting for that. Because God won't force himself, so he'll wait. And for some of us, it's interesting. For some of us, the way we ask is, God, come into part of my heart. And he'll take that. And just come into that place and wait. But that's, again, like grace. Like, it's just, God is just like, grace lets you up, lets you experience it. Grace is the life of God, and we just share it. And the thing is, every time you say yes, I mean, like a little prayer, like, and saying yes to God doesn't necessarily mean saying yes to Raffy or saying yes to the church. Because sometimes, you know, it's just, practically speaking, you can't do two things. You can't. So, but saying yes to the grace, saying yes to God, when God, just a simple prayer like that, just come into my heart. He comes in, and every time we say yes to that grace, it opens up more doors. And then you can open more doors. And to experience so much more. And that's what you said. That's what I hear from you. Like, there's just so much more. If you don't have God in your heart, you know, just ask. Because it fixes it. It doesn't change you, but it changes you totally.
It does change you.
You're the same. You're still Tim, but
yeah, I'm still Tim, but I'm the nicer Tim. I'm like, you know, hey buddy, let's talk. You know.
So that's great. Can we thank Tim?
Oh, no problem.
Just